You ever hear of a TV show that's just so completely bonkers you can't believe it was ever real? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on what might just be Canadian television's wildest, most forgotten secret. Okay, picture this, a sleepy, gorgeous lakeside town, the kind you'd see on a postcard. Now, let's throw in a mysterious murder to kick the whole thing off. And why stop there? Let's also throw in a local waitress who, just happens to be a practicing witch. We're talking spells, visiting warlocks, the whole deal. How about a gay bed and breakfast? And for its grand opening, a celebration that involves men running naked right through the middle of town. And just for good measure, let's top it all off with a giant helping of blackmail, betrayal, and political corruption. Yeah, this is only the beginning of the story of Paradise Falls. All right, so this show, Paradise Falls, it first hit the airwaves way back in 2001, and it was set in this picture-perfect summer cottage community, Muskoka, Ontario. It was supposed to be the ultimate Canadian getaway, a quiet escape from the big city. But here's the thing, the entire premise was basically a lie. And this contrast, it really gets to the heart of the show. On the one hand, you've got this beautiful postcard version of summer life, but just underneath the surface, it was a complete mess of scandal, murder, and some seriously steamy affairs. The whole point was that this perfect little town was actually rotten to the core. So get this, the drama wasn't just what you saw on screen. Turns out the real-life story of how this show got made was every bit as unpredictable and chaotic as one of its own plots. I mean, look at this schedule. It was all over the place. After season 1 in 2001, poof, it just vanished for 3 entire years. Why? Because the producers were struggling to find the money. Then it comes back in 2004, only to disappear again for 4 more years before its final season in 2008. This kind of stop and start thing, it's basically unheard of, especially for a soap opera. And you have to appreciate the ambition here. We're not talking a standard 13 or 22 episodes for that first season. Nope. They went for a massive 52 episode order. 52, and they shot them all in one go. That is a gigantic task for any show, never mind an independent Canadian one. Imagine that. Okay, so let's dive into the really juicy stuff. The stuff that made this show so memorable. The characters and the absolutely wild things they were doing. Yeah, these were not your average small-town folks, especially not for 2001. The show's moral compass, this character named Bia, she was a transgender woman. Then you had the mayor's grandson, who was openly gay, a main character who was a witch, and a goth teenager who just casually identified as trisexual. I mean, this was seriously progressive stuff for the time. And if you think the characters were out there, the plots were even crazier. The show had literally everything. A porn shoot happening at the local B&B. Check. A visiting warlock. You bet. And in one really creepy storyline, you had the mayor secretly watching his own grandson and his fiancée. I mean, they were pulling 0 punches. Which really makes you wonder, right? How in the world did a Canadian show back in 2001 get away with all of this? With storylines this explicit and characters that were pushing so many boundaries? Well, the show's totally wild nature and its very, very frank approach to sexuality meant it definitely struggled to find a big mainstream audience. But it also ended up carving out this really unique and surprising legacy, a legacy that kind of hints at where TV was headed next. It turns out its super explicit LGBTQ+ content, the very thing that was probably a roadblock for mainstream networks, ended up being its biggest asset. The show got picked up in the US by Here TV, which was a channel aimed right at gay and lesbian viewers, an audience that was absolutely starving for this kind of representation. And just like that, a cult classic was born, finding a home on an American LGBTQ+ network, plus those completely no-holds-barred storylines. It all cemented its status. This was a show that was absolutely ahead of its time, really pushing the envelope for what Canadian TV could even be. So, you gotta ask, right? With its crazy mix of murder, witchcraft, and groundbreaking queer representation, was Paradise Falls Canada's wildest and most audacious TV secret? A show that was maybe just too shocking for its own time. But when you look back, it feels like a sneak peek into the future of TV. So what do you think? Had you ever even heard of this show before? Let us know down in the comments. And hey, if you enjoyed this little trip down TV's memory lane, make sure to give us a like and subscribe for more. Thanks for joining me.